Not even a week ago, market cap leaders like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano were facing major resistance. Meanwhile, coins like Theta and VeChain were making all-time highs in a struggling market. I covered Theta in a video just the other day. I'll leave the link to that right up here. But today we're going to talk about VeChain. Where is it now and where can we see it going for April? For some of you newcomers, I'm going to talk about what VeChain is. We're going to lay out some fundamentals and why I think it's really strong, and then dive into some technicals and where I can see VeChain ending up for April. My name's Shiltoshi, and welcome back to another episode of my dress shirts only come in schmediums. Let's start shilling. So I have to confess, after filming that intro a couple of times, I started losing circulation in my arms. The seams were really tight, a lot tighter than I remembered that shirt being. So I did have to switch into a t-shirt. However, this one ended up not being much better. So I guess at this point you can just call Shiltoshi Baby Gap. Moving into the market though, CoinMarketCap has the market cap at 1.89 trillion, which is awesome to see. It is a little bit down from its all-time high today of 1.97 trillion. Really cool to see us pushing up against that $2 trillion mark. The Bitcoin and ETH dominance are up at the moment as compared to what they were earlier. However, overall, it is good to see Bitcoin under the 60% dominance. ETH still floating under the 12% dominance. Bitcoin really at this point needs to break the $60,000 mark. As everybody saw with the little flash crash that we had last night, we're about $80 billion in market cap essentially vanished. Bitcoin continues to reject 60K and it kind of pulls the rest of the market down with it every time it does. So it would be fantastic to see Bitcoin over 60K and staying over 60K. I really do think at that point we're going to see a really big rally in a lot of coins we've all been waiting to pump. Scrolling down, we had a few flips. Theta did move from the number 10 spot to actually from the number 9 spot. Was flipped by Litecoin, then flipped by Filecoin, and flipped by Link. So unfortunately, Theta's having a little bit of a rough patch. I know its volume is down a ton. So I mean, at this point, if you're looking to pick up Theta, now's the time. Theta's going to rock it. Like I said, I have the video I made on Theta just a couple of days ago. I just think we're seeing a pump anomaly out of Filecoin, and then obviously Link and Litecoin are going to do good because Bitcoin's trying to push that 60,000 mark, but Theta is going to top all of them and ultimately flip Uniswap for the 8th spot and hopefully take down XRP. No one likes seeing XRP at the number 7 spot. But moving on to VeChain, we are 21st in the market. We are, looks like we got pushed down. I believe Filecoin making that rally. I'm not quite sure where it was on the list originally, but I think TRX has been ahead of us for a little while now, unless TRX, which it could have over the last 7 days, it is up 60%. So TRX could have flipped us out of the 20th spot into the 21st. But nevertheless, moving in, we are seeing some good movement this evening, or at least at this point in the video before you watch this. For me, it's this evening, moving into April 1st. But VeChain is sitting at 9.1 cents. It is up from where it was floating around today, which was obviously right here, the low of 8.3 cents. And I think earlier, up until this point, the high was around like 8.6 cents. So a little over 8.5 cents. So it is really good to see this little rally that we're getting right now. But moving down, let's talk about VeChain for all of you that don't know what VeChain is. VeChain is a blockchain-powered supply chain platform. They began back in 2015. This is why I like VeChain. They're not new to the block, and they actually, to this day, have real-world use case. So they have been implemented in many big brands that you're honestly probably very familiar with. VeChain aims to distribute governance and Internet of Things technology to create an ecosystem which solves some of the major problems with supply chain management. The platform uses 2 in-house tokens, VET and VETHO, to manage and create value based on VeChain Thor public blockchain. The idea is to boost the efficiency, traceability, and transparency of supply chains while reducing cost and placing more control in the hands of the individual user. So like I said, I love VeChain, and one of the biggest reasons I like VeChain is because a lot of companies use it today and their token has a lot of utility, which I think is really important to continue to drive price up. So let's dive into some fundamentals. We'll talk about companies that actually use VeChain today and a lot of news that you may not have heard about recently that's going to make me very, very bullish on VeChain in the near future. So to give you a little bit more of an idea of the different types of products that VeChain offers to different types of industries, if you come over here to their website, hit on solutions, this will kind of give you an outline of products that they offer to these industries. So we have a digital carbon ecosystem, which is, in my opinion, a very important one because this helps companies track their overall carbon footprint and emissions. You have customer confidence, which obviously deals with retail, which is a huge industry, along with automobiles, retail itself, logistics, liquefied natural gas solutions, digital content distribution, document management, and agriculture. Furthermore, if we come into their industries that they support, it's going to be automobiles, wine, food, clothing, agriculture, electronics, art, fresh food, and the luxury item category. So you can see they're very, very diverse, which makes the company very strong because they're not reliant on one customer base, because you could have some sort of economic crash, which would lead to that industry potentially failing or having a large pullback. This allows them to keep their feelers out in a lot of different fields, continuing to make money even if there is, like I said, a big economic crash or some sort of economic instability. So jumping into a few more reasons I'm so bullish on VeChain are going to be both their investors and partners that they've made along the way, which is honestly a very, very long list. Starting with investors, I'm sure you've heard the term follow smart money. Well, smart money is invested in VeChain. Draper Dragon is one of the companies that stood out to me. It's owned by Tim Draper. He's known for his venture successes, including Skype, Overture, I'm pretty sure this is pronounced Baidu, Tesla, Hotmail, SpaceX, SolarCity, and Robinhood. I'm sure you recognize more than a few of those names, and they are massive successes. Obviously, they would not have put their faith in VeChain if they didn't see a long-term vision and they knew it wasn't going to pay off. Furthermore, looking at their partnerships, there are so many big names that are involved with VeChain that you probably didn't even know. Fortune 500 companies such as BMW China, H&M, Louis Vuitton, Walmart China, Bear China, which is going to be Bear Paints, and a few others. These are huge companies, once again, that have trusted VeChain to integrate within their business to help provide solutions. So VeChain is so embedded within a lot of different industries that they're almost too big to fail. And that's why I'm so bullish on VeChain moving forward, especially as we start to breach into this altcoin season. Some of the new news that has come out on VeChain is that they'll be onboarding 250 more clients. That's crazy because the list is already extremely long in other companies that they work with, and their ecosystem is massive. One of those companies that they teamed up with was Ubiquity. Now, Ubiquity is an enterprise blockchain secured platform for real estate and title record keeping. This is a market that I'm pretty sure is very untapped. NFTs are obviously becoming quite the rage, but NFTs for real estate in markets that are extremely saturated, such as China, this would be huge to be able to have real estate NFTs. So I really do think VeChain is a trailblazer and really expanding into another industry, which is going to be NFTs and not just being involved in just your standard blockchain. Now, let's dive into the charts because I know that's the part that everybody is always waiting for to see what kind of predictions we have and what's unfolding for the next month. All right, so here we are on the 4-hour time frame for VeChain. I do want to kind of bring you back into November just so we can spot some trends that have begun to develop. I believe there are some commonalities here. While that may not be the cleanest in month-over-month trends as compared to things like Theta, which had almost a spot-on identical month-over-month trend, this still shows us some points of interest that'll give us an idea of what to expect and when to expect it. So if we go all the way back to November, we can see we hit an all-time high here on the 25th, 26th of the month. So we have that all-time high there. And then we go through kind of a recessionary period and we start the beginning of the month. December is a little bit different. I'm going to call this an anomaly just because, you know, you had COVID, you had a lot of unemployment, you had the holiday. So you're going to see that dip naturally as we enter the holiday. However, you see you did have a little bit of a rally right here in the middle, and we still, at the end of the month, we closed an all-time high on the 29th. So still hit a high, and it was still after the 20th, but before the end of the month. Same thing after this, you hit a consolidation period, and on the 1st, you pretty much rally. We hit all-time highs right here on the 20th of January, and as we continue, same thing. We go into a recessionary period. We spike up pretty much on the 1st. You can see we had some upward momentum. The difference here in February was we did hit our all-time high really early right here in the first week, or sorry, the first 2 weeks on the 12th. However, we did challenge that high again on the 20th. So we can obviously see this trend where, once again, after the 20th, before the 30th, we start seeing these highs followed by a recessionary period, and we pick back up the 1st. Same thing happened in March, where we hit our all-time high, this time on the 24th. So this trend has continued to be pretty spot on, where we have all these targets that we hit these all-time highs around those time frames. So we can obviously expect in April we're going to potentially see an all-time high after the 20th, but before the 30th. So if we dive a little bit deeper just into the month of March's, in general, it was a phenomenal month. We created this channel. We had a lot of touch points on the channel, confirming the upper and lower lines. Most importantly, the lower support line. I don't believe that VeChain ever would have broke $10 in March. Had a few things going against it. Once again, we go topside towards the end of the month right here. We have all of this resistance on the top of the channel with not a whole lot of room to breathe, which obviously as we keep hitting this resistance, we're gonna get a pullback. On top of that, we were entering the end of the month, which we usually see pullbacks because the major coins that trade like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Link are traded on leverage. There's a lot of open interest open, so those future contracts expiring really drag the market down, which you can see, it definitely did. We had one of the largest numbers of futures contracts expire this month on the 26th. It was almost $7 billion worth of futures contracts. We did form after we bounced off this support line, which it did hold pretty well. We formed a downward channel. Within this channel, we are also inside, I believe, this wedge. We had a bunch of confirmations on the top side of the channel that it was holding resistance against this channel in addition to this resistance line at the 0.094 cent line or so. This lower line didn't get a third confirmation, but here's why I still feel like it's strong enough to hold up. We do have right here, with this touch point and this touch point, we can obviously form a ray. And that also intersects with this lower line, which also intersects with our support. So I feel like that was such a strong confluence of all these different ranges meeting that it was indicative of support. I really did feel like, for me, that was a strong support line right here. As you can see, we've started our run up April 1st. We have broken out of this channel. Hopefully we can confirm above this wedge here pretty shortly. 0.091 is kind of the price to look for, that it needs to close at in order to prove that it is breaking out of this pattern. Right now you can see it is holding at the 9-cent range, pretty much 9 cent even. So we should see that. I really do believe by the time you're watching this, we should see that breakout. Next thing we're looking for, once again, this 0.094 support range. I really do think we're going to flip this really easy into support and move on up. I think we're going to take 2 attempts at 10 cents. I say this because obviously a big psychological level at the 10 cent, and there's going to be naturally a lot of selling pressure. There's a lot of people who held out through this huge run up, who are newer to VET and aren't super invested in the project, that are going to dump. It's natural. It's going to happen no matter what. We can maybe see a run at the 10-cent line this weekend, which, weekends tend to be a little bit more volatile. So I don't think we're going to have the power to break 10 cents this weekend. However, into next week, I think the weekend will push the price back down once again to this resistance, which I think we're going to flip to support, and it's going to really rally off of that. So from there, we're looking at the first week of the first week of April making an all-time high, which is fantastic. How high can we see VeChain going? So if we go into the first of every month, we pull that low to the high. In December, we made an 85% gain. In January, we made a 93% gain. February, we made a 165% gain, and March 160. So if you take all of these and you form an average, the average would be about 125% gain. That would put us at about 19 cents would be our all-time high or our top out range for April, which I don't think is necessarily really out there, but historically VET has kind of struggled with these psychological levels. It struggled with the 5 cent range for a really long time. It struggled with the 10-cent range. I think we're going to have the same struggle with the 15-cent range, and that's going to be a hard position to break, and we're going to have to do quite a bit of volume to break up above that. It's going to have a really big market cap. So there's a few things we're going to have to battle to even try to hit this 19-20 cent range. So I think it's a little bit more safe to say we're definitely going to push that 15-cent range for April. That's going to be my prediction. Now, if we want to try to reinforce that a little bit, we can pull some Fibonacci charts or Fibonacci retracements to kind of see where those land up. So if we do January, we should see levels for February from low January to high January. We saw that we hit right above the 2.27 range right here. So we were in between that 2.27 and that 2.618 range was where we saw our highs. February low to the February high. We can see that March, we didn't quite make the same feats, but once again, we were only at 160% gain as compared to that 165% gain. But we did push up towards the 2.27 range. And once again, February, we landed between 2.61 and the 2.27. This month, we're landing between the 2.27 and the 1.618. So we can obviously say we're going to, if we're once again taking averages, we're going to land somewhere around this 2.27 range for April. March numbers, go March low to March high, and we get a look at where that lands us at the 2.27. The 2.27 range, which like we said is about the average, is at the 17, almost the 18 cent range. The average in percentiles put us at the 19 cent range. So we have very strong mathematical potential to land somewhere between the 17 and 20 cent range. But once again, we're really battling psychological support, pushing over 15. I think 15 is a little bit of a safer bet. So that's going to be my conservative number. I'm going to say we're going to push and hit an all-time high of 15 cents for VeChain in April. And it is going to be, once again, after the 20th, before the 30th, my moon number is gonna be, we're gonna hit 1999. I don't think we'll break the 20. I think we'll butt up right against it. So I'm gonna say my moon boy number is 1999 price target for April. I think it's really important to kind of have both those numbers. You got to have something to really wish for. And while it may not be the most likely, obviously we would all be ecstatic if we were able to hit that high of a price target for April for VeChain. It would obviously be so much potential for the rest of this altcoin season. Well, that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed the video on VeChain. You learned something new if this is a project you didn't know much about. Don't forget to subscribe and please like the video. Follow us on Twitter. We're trying to grow that Shiltoshi family, and we just started a new Telegram group chat. Links are going to be below. There we'll be dropping daily TAs so you have an idea of where the markets are going for certain coins. You can request TAs, and if I can get around to them, I will post that with some voice chat explaining kind of what's going on and entry points that I personally am looking for, so I'll share those with you guys. What do you think about that moonshot 20-cent VET? And what do you think about the realistic 15-cent price target? And then what are you guys doing with your VeChain long term? Are you staking it, or are you going to end up flipping it and getting into another project? Please leave that down below. Anyways, you know the deal, guys. Keep it chill and keep up the shill.